Okay, this is the engine compartment of a 50th anniversary car, a Z car. 1984, I believe, is when these cars were produced. I had one back then. It's really a great piece of equipment. It's a turbocharged 3-liter 6-cylinder engine. These things really made some decent horsepower for the day. Remember now, this is in the middle 80s, whenever the government had stepped in and pretty much killed everything horsepower-wise. So when most of the cars had no horsepower, this guy was one of the king of the hill cars that you had a hard time getting around. It's a light car. It makes a lot of horsepower, lots of torque with this turbocharger. Single turbocharger. It's fuel injected. It has power steering. It has power brakes. It has air conditioning with a modern type compressor on it. It has a new battery. It has cruise control. It has a fan shroud. It has a clutch fan on it. Your air intake system is up here. This is where your filter is and everything that relates to the intake track of this vehicle. Washer bottle over there. This is the overflow for the radiator. Everything in this engine compartment is just as nice as you'd ever hope to find. There's no indications that this car has ever had any paint work or any distress whatsoever in any way. I drove this car for a few days and it absolutely rips. It's a fun car to drive. It has a lot of horsepower for the era, and it's just as new a vehicle as you could find for 1984 Nissan 50th anniversary car. All your ID plaques are still on the underhood area. It does have an underhood pad on it. It's just an absolutely gorgeous car. Nice engine compartment, good horsepower for the day. And it's just a great fun car to drive. It's small, agile, and just a fantastic car. Let's go around the outside. Hi, you're at Hanksters in Daytona Beach, Florida, and we got a really neat guest for you today. Usually I'm going to go ahead and present the car and I put my hand on the hood, but I can't now. This guy's way too low. This little guy is a lot of fun. This thing is a fantastic little ride. I used it for the better part of a week. I really didn't want to give this one back. It's a lot of fun to drive. Fantastic car. It's a Nissan, so right off the stick we know the quality is going to be really spot on in this vehicle, and you can see it. Look at the gaps around everything. Your headlight buckets, the hood, everything. Look, cannot possibly be any better than it is. Peekaboo headlights, you can see, they do come up, they do function. They're electric. You can put them up also to wash them if you want. The front bumper has absolutely no marks whatsoever on it. I don't feel anything at all. The original striping is still intact on this car all around it, and I didn't detect any paintwork anywhere in this car either. And if you look, it's hard to see, but the front spoiler is even in excellent condition. It's not all torn up like most of them are. The car is just an absolute gorgeous fun car to drive. Parking lights in the front, amber lenses, just as clean as you'd ever hope to find. The paint on the car is original, so in that era, this is as good a paint job as you could get. American cars did not have this quality of paint in the 80s that this car did. Fantastic looking vehicle condition-wise. We haven't buffed it out or really completely detailed the car yet, but it is really, really a nice car. Fantastic front end of this car. Again, fitment, paint, no marks, no chips, no dings. Absolutely nothing. Let's check the driver's side. Okay, driver's side of our 300Z. Marker light in the front, just as nice as could be. Look at this, no chips on the sides of this front spoiler. Original striping on the car has not been repainted, nowhere that I can detect anyway. Just a look at the gap. Original striping, 50th anniversary badges. The glass in this thing, you can't really see it, but it has like it's tinted. It's a dark tinted glass, but it has like a golden tint to it. That's the way these cars came from the factory, with like a goldish tint glass in them back then. Sunshade, fade windshield, correct wiper arms and blades on this car. Take that back. The blades themselves are an Anco blade, but the arms are correct. VIN number just as nice and clean as can be. Where the dash transitions onto the base of the windshield, this is black for about 2 inches up, but it Has absolutely no deterioration on the top of the dashboard, the padded dash. This is nice and clean a car as you'd ever hope to find. But they don't use stainless trim on these things. It actually is stainless trim, but then they painted it black. So the trim around the window, we'll go around it anyway. I'll see if I can feel any dingies or dents in it for you. None. Absolutely none. Black, 2 mirrors right and left. Again, the trim around the door the same way. It is a T-top car. These are mirror tops. Whenever you look at them, you cannot see through them. They have a mirror finish on them, but whenever you're inside the car, you can see out of them. It's like a one-way glass. It's a really neat thing that they had back in the day. A great idea on Nissan's part to put something like that on. No marks or dingies whatsoever in the roof. Again, look at the fitment of this door. Look at the gaps, front and back of this door. Fantastic. Turbo designation. Again, I still haven't felt any paintwork anywhere. This is still feels all like original paint on it. Quarter windows, same way, tinted with that goldish tint. Trim around them, just as nice as you'd want to find. They used some pretty aggressive tires on this vehicle back in the day. And there's no flares on the front that are add-on. The add-on parts are in the rear that Nissan incorporated to house the larger rubber that this car had on it. But the front has an actual fender that has a flare built into it. Power antenna for the radio. Rear side marker light. This is going to be plastic, so I won't really tell you anything. Whole driver's side of this car, I didn't feel a single dent in it anywhere, nor did I see any chips or marks or scuffs or imperfections in the paint. It's about as nice a car as you're going to find. 16-inch turbo style wheel, turbine style wheel, with some high-end rubber on it. Gold insets to match all the gold trim around the car and the turbo designation on it. 16-inch tires back in the day were about as big a rubber as you could hang on a car. There were very few cars that had 16s. Corvettes were just coming on to them with 16s at that point. Nissan, of course, had them, and this car had standard 4-wheel disc brakes. Pretty hot performance machine for its day. Let's go out back, see what we can show you there. Okay, the rear section of our anniversary 300Z car here. Again, that tinted glass in the back. It does have a rear defroster incorporated into it and a rear wiper, a huge rear wiper. And this one does have the original blade on it, has the original arm and the original blade. A functional rear spoiler. This is the way these guys came. It's a great looking car. Trim around the back. No dingies whatsoever. Talk about a taillight assembly. Can't miss this guy. Back bumper. I still have not found a dent or a chip in this paint or in the body of the car. Little tiny stone chip there. We have to brush touch it. That's it. Back end of this car is as nice as you'd ever want to find. You can see that the plastic on the rear tail light assemblies, a turn signal. Of course, at that point in time in Europe, they used amber turn signals and the backup lights also. Everything is crystal clear, as nice as you would ever hope to find. A little double-tipped exhaust system coming out the driver's side. And again, no marks on the front bumper, side, or the back bumper. We still haven't found any deficiencies in this car. One more side to go, though. Okay, passenger side, our last side here. Again, the side marker light is nice and clean as you'd hope to find. Look at everything. This gas lid even. You kidding me? Look at this. Trim around the back window on this side. Same as the other side. There's no dingies from someone. Little stone chip here also. One little one here, one little one here. Brush touch, brush touch. That's it. Trim. Side window, quarter window, just as nice as you'd ever hope to find. Plastic, so there's no sense checking that, but we'll see it underneath. I know this car is just totally rust-free. And again, original paint car. Top fitment is the same as the other side. It just could not possibly be any better than it is. That mirrored glass really adds a lot of character to it. Look at this door. Totally amazing. Window wipes, whiskers. Of course, these are rubber. They're not wipes. Well, I guess they technically are wipes, but they're not whiskers because they're made out of rubber with like a felt backing to them. And they fit right up to the glass. So it wipes the glass actually as it goes down. Turbo designation again. And that's our last gap. Look at this. This entire car was precise fitment-wise. Everything was just as precise as you'd want to find. Trim around the front window. Side mirror on the right side. You can't ask for any better than that. And I still haven't really found any paintwork. I don't know. Side marker lamp in the front. We're back where we started to begin with here. This car is as nice a vehicle as you could ever hope to find. Originality, that's what you're buying here. Not something that's been redone, repainted, refitted, reupholstered. This thing has originality in its entirety. You will not find a more original 300Z Nissan than you're looking at this point. This car is the color that it came in. They were silver. I don't think they made any other ones. The one I had was silver. It's an identical twin to this thing. It was 4-speed, 5-speed, same as this one. The wheels on this car, normally through the years, this finish on here, which is a clear acrylic, starts to deteriorate just from the heat of the wheel. And also in here, they usually get dirty from brake dust. These wheels, someone has really cared for them through the years because they are as they were when they were new. They're just absolutely flawless. There's no marks, no deterioration, no brake dust, dirt, absolutely nothing. And the fit on the finish and everything in that car is just the way it was when it was produced. So this is one of these deals where if you don't like the way the fit or the finish is on this car or anything on this car, don't call us, call Nissan, because they're the ones that built it. Nothing has been changed on this vehicle since the day it left the factory that we can detect. There is absolutely no indication of paintwork on the car anywhere. It's just a fantastic vehicle. It's available here at Hankster's in Daytona Beach, Florida, and really you should come down and take a look at this one. And put it up on the rack and drive it and have some fun with it. Take a look at it. Spend a day down here, go to the beach. You can spend the time looking at this Nissan, or you can spend the time looking at 80 other cars that we have available here. At any rate, we encourage everyone to come down and visit our facility. It's a fantastic experience for you. Everyone that's here loves working here. We don't do it as a job, we do it as a love. So come down and join us and take a look at what we have to show you. Fantastic cars, and this is just one of them. But this is a real serious 1984 Nissan 300Z 50th anniversary car. Fantastic condition. Okay, this is our 50th anniversary Nissan ZX, 300ZX. Really a great car. I love these cars. Dash itself is absolutely the way it was when it was new. Nice and resilient, yet it does have all the gauges. The original radio, no one hacked any holes in it and put any Mickey Mouse radio system in it. It has the original tape deck player that came with the car. It has a control steering wheel, you know, for your radio controls and also for your cruise control. It has a bar graph style dashboard. In other words, the lights light up like they did in the '84 Corvette, you know, with the tach working and a bar graph, the gas gauge working as a bar graph, your temperature gauges, everything is bar graph in this vehicle. Black interior, you can't see it, but I'm going to tell you, it does have snap-out liners in the T-tops. You can take the T-tops out, store them in the back, but it also has these snap-on liners. You can take these liners off, and that way you have sunlight coming through your mirror glass. You can see out, but you can't see it. Anyway, it's a fantastic design on Nissan's part. It has a huge glove compartment. Has lots of storage space there. You got another one in the center here. Storage space everywhere in this vehicle. It has a tray in the back here with a bar that goes across so that when you put your groceries or whatever you have, your purse or whatever, your pocketbook, notebook, computer, it's not going to slide forward and smash into the back of the seats. It has a huge trunk in this thing. You can store about anything you want in it. Fantastic controlled radio system in this thing. Real high end at that point in time for a car. No deterioration on the mirror whatsoever. Day-night mirror. The leather, and it's real leather too, by the way. Wrapped steering wheel. There's no stitching coming loose. It's still nice and resilient the way it should be. Door panels the same way. You can see both lights actuated. So when your doors are open, in Europe they always had red lights on the doors. You open the doors so someone can see that the doors are open. Window controls on the door. Everything is nice and resilient yet on the panels themselves. A leather vinyl interior. The outer bolsters are vinyl. The inner part is leather on these seats. That's just the way they came. 50th anniversary designation all throughout the car. 5-speed manual transmission in it. We just put a new clutch in this too, by the way, so it does have a brand spanking new clutch in it. The interior in this car shows no wear whatsoever. Absolutely none. Nope, not even on the bolsters of the driver's seat. Interior is a cut pile carpeting. And again, a full console here with all your controls on it. Everything on this vehicle is as it was when it left the factory in 1984. You cannot find a more original ZX than this car. It's a fantastic car. You got to look at it at your Hankster's website here in Daytona Beach, because there can't be that many of these available. And if there are, they're not going to be in this condition. This is originality here. This isn't something that's been made over. This car is the way it was in 1984. We have a horn that does work. It's unbelievable down here today. I think it's going to hit 150 today. I'm not sure. I know it was somewhere in the 140 range yesterday, but it's going to be right around 150 degrees today down here. The sunlight. If they could just do away with the sun, would be okay. Okay, left turn signal. We have no indicator light. Yeah, we do. Right there it is. See, left turn signal just beat itself right in the sun. And that worthless stuff, you can't see anything in the sunlight. And then the right one doing the same thing. Oop, I just hit the wipers, which are intermittent, but see, the wipers are working. They're just beating themselves to death out there. These gauges are functioning. Your temperature gauge, your oil pressure gauge, and your amp gauge is a functioning gauge. The fuel gauge is working. If you see it late at night, you know, without this sunlight inhibiting your ability to see it, it does function, but the lights don't light up. So we have to take this dash and send it out and have it addressed. The power supply for the illumination from that center section on to the left side is it needs addressed. So for whatever reason, we definitely have to get that done. Radio, you just heard, I think you just heard it working. Devin, did you play that or no? You did? You didn't? Okay, how do I do this now? Devin's our radio expert. I don't know crap about radios. Okay. Okay, then there's also an additional thing that Nissan had back then, and you can take and turn on the seats actually vibrate to the beat of the music. It was an option on these vehicles, this amplifier. The seat's vibrating like crazy on my back right now. I gotta shut it off. That's not me. Let's see here, scan. I'm just gonna show you, but everything does function on this vehicle. They work, it's just the illumination doesn't work. Okay, so we're gonna go for a ride here. I did use this thing for a while, so I know how it runs, and this thing is really a sweetheart. I mean, it does nothing wrong. Nothing wrong. It just goes down the road straight. The steering is very precise in the car. The brakes are power discs, all four corners, and they'll put you through the windshield if you don't have a seatbelt on, which we don't. Fantastic piece of engineering here. This is in 1984, this would have been at the very, very top of the food chain. There weren't very many cars that would go by this. this car would run at that point in time with Porsches and Ferraris. It's a very strong running car, given its limitations, you know, for horsepower, compression, emission standards at that point of time. A fantastic car, tight as a drum. There's not a shake, a shimmy, a rattle, a squeak, nothing. There's absolutely nothing on this car that's not fun to enjoy. You know, everything in it works as it should. It does have a tilt wheel in it. Real high-end rubber on this thing, and it's just a fantastic running vehicle. You can't find a nicer running sports car than this little 300ZX. Yeah, this is as nice a car as you'd ever hope to find. I'm sure that's about 80. Shifts like butter, smooth as silk. You cannot find a nicer, smoother shifting transmission than this guy. It's a 5-speed, and it's just absolutely like butter. Look. Clutch nice and solid because it is new, just installed. There's not a squeak, a shimmy, a rattle, absolutely nothing. Nothing that you can complain about in this vehicle. Other than, we got to fix that instrument cluster for you. You can't have it, there's no tack. You can see it at night, but you can't see it during the day. So it does function, it's just the illumination isn't there, and that's what we have to go ahead and address for you. Other than that, this car is absolutely spot on. Original paint, original interior, carpeting, nice piece of equipment. Whoever gets this is going to have a nice toy to play with. Okay, this is the undercarriage of our 50th anniversary Nissan 300ZX. It is a turbo car also, 3-liter turbo, fuel injected. Everything on this car is as it was originality-wise when it was released by Nissan in '84. The strut suspension in the front, I can't really tell if they've been replaced. They look like they're new, but again, I can't really tell. The whole undercarriage is very, very clean on the vehicle. The springs are on the top of the strut. Rack and pinion style steering on it. You can see the engine has no leaks whatsoever, nor does the transmission or the bell housing area. We did have a new clutch pressure plate throwout bearing just installed in this vehicle. The turbocharger is mounted right here where there's a joint pipe that goes over from the right-hand side over to the left side. And if you notice on the hood, there's one hood scoop that is functional and forces air down past the turbocharger, which is here, to go ahead and keep it as cool as possible. 2.5-inch primary pipe coming out of the cast iron exhaust manifold. All your brake lines are original yet, the fuel line original. This is speedometer cable here. The fender wells, there's no dents or deviations in them. No one made any attempt to jack it up through the years on that. However, they did here. Probably in shipping or maybe even on the jack stand or who knows what at the time. I'm going to guess that this was in shipping sometime because there's a scrape here where it had been creased a little bit on this substructure here. This is basically what's called a monocoque chassis where the body and the frame are an integral part. They are welded together. So structurally, this is one of the soundest systems that you can buy. We got bugs here now. We got lawn mowers, weed eaters. We got everything going today. But what they've done is it's the same as a Porsche 911. It's a very strong system for integrating the body and the framework. Everything is welded structurally. But anyway, there's a crease right here, a little tiny dinghy here, pretty good dinghy, and there's a little crease here. Other than that, it's pretty much unobstructed, marked anywhere. The undercarriage itself, the floor pans, there's absolutely no indication of deterioration through the years, none whatsoever. The rear has a sway bar, as does the front of this vehicle too. It has a huge sway bar in the front. It was a performance-oriented vehicle, more as a sports car than a drag racer, where at this point in time, pretty much everything in America had gone by the wayside as far as performance-oriented vehicles were concerned. The middle 70s on up, and it was pretty much whatever you could get, and this was at the top of the food chain at that point in time. There weren't too many cars that would go by this guy. New U-joints apparently on the drive shaft, rear, and I can't see the front. So it's up above the catalytic converter, which was mandatory at that point in time. Does have an independent rear axle in this vehicle. It does have 2 swing arms. Springs in the back appear to be original. The joints on the sway bar are also as they were when they were new. The body mounts are all nice and clean and fresh. Not replaced, but still just as nice and resilient as you could hope to find. Rear disc brakes to match the front ones. Gas tank has not been replaced. I can't see anything that has not been just cleaned up, and it's original. Everything underneath this car is original. All the structural bracing on the car is original. The exhaust system is the original type exhaust. I'm going to call it definitely 2.5 going in. I'm going to call it 2 1/8. 2 1/8 going out for the remainder of it, and then 2 exhaust pipes, probably 1 3/4 inches, 1 7/8 going out the back. Let's see here. Shocks in the back are the original shocks yet and don't need to be replaced. There's nothing leaking anywhere. You see the rear differential is a really sound system. It's mounted on the structural part of the body, so the rear end itself is mounted solid to the vehicle, and then the swing axles will do the rest of the job as far as suspension goes. Total undercarriage, you can see it. There's no leaks. A couple little marks through the years from, I'm going to say they weren't from jacking the car up. They were definitely from someone loading and unloading this car in transport through the years. That's where that little bit of damage was done. I just want to make you aware of it. There's this crease here. There's a small light dent here, and then there's a pretty good punch right here. But you can see what happened. Somebody came up onto a rack, hit it here, and then came and scraped it again here. And then the same thing here, hit it here and scraped it again here. So it could have been pulling it onto a rack through the years to service it, or it could have been in transportation. At any rate, those marks are there. They do nothing as far as anything detrimental structure-wise. It does not compromise its integrity at all. But the marks are there. I want you to know that they are there. You can see again, no leaks whatsoever, absolutely none. I drove this car for a few days and I absolutely love it. And I might drive it again for a while. This thing's a pretty nice car.